Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I am your host, Michael Hansen, and I do all kinds of dazzling things with microphones because I am a ring announcer and MMA cage announcer. And ladies and gentlemen, I am joined this week by my two friends who bring MMA punditry to new heights. Introducing first on the left side of your screens from New York, Mark Priaulx. Mark, what's going on, buddy?
What is up, boys? What a freaking card we got coming up on Saturday. Awesome action we had this past weekend. I'm excited to get into these fights.
Nice, nice. And introducing on the right sides of your screens from the Sunshine State, Florida, Omar Artola. What's going on, babe?
What's going on, man? Getting ready to go on my vacation in a couple days. Also, I'm a little on the sick side, so if I sound a little weird, apologies.
Nice.
You always sound weird, so it shouldn't be much difference.
Thanks, bud.
I have my folks coming in tomorrow to visit the baby. They're going to be here for an extended weekend. It's going to be phenomenal.
Nice.
I cannot wait.
Breathe a little bit.
Yeah, the more arms to pass the kid around, the better.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have quite the packed show for you. A great show. We're going to quickly recap some fights from this past weekend that happened both in UFC and Bellator. We're going to start, as we always do, with our first segment on the marquee. Then we're going to go into our lightning round, as well as some other recaps. We're going to check our update with our very own Priaulx Rankings by Mr. Priaulx right there. We're going to hop inside the MMA sphere with Omar and see what headlines and current events is going down in the MMA world. And then we are going to look ahead to the colossal card this coming weekend, UFC 269, Oliveira versus Poirier. Oh my goodness, this card is so stacked. But before we get to any of that, boys, let us first thank our audience. Thank you for joining us. If it's on YouTube, please subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you never miss an episode. If you want audio only, find us wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, all the things. And of course, follow us on social media and get at us with your very own hot takes. All right, gentlemen, let us begin with our first segment on the marquee this week. The name on the marquee has got to be Mr. Jose Aldo Jr., Scarface himself, who this past weekend at UFC Fight Night defeated Rob Font by unanimous decision. Gentlemen, what a great fight this was. Mark, let me start with you. What did you make of the performance of the ageless wonder and the guy who is in the conversation of GOAT, certainly in the conversation of GOAT at featherweight, Jose Aldo?
Jose, baby. I love it. I love to see it. And I got to say, I love hearing you throw out the Scarface nickname. I feel like he used to get referred to as Scarface all the time, and now you never hear it anymore.
Yeah, I don't know why. You only hear King of Rio. Everybody uses that now.
Yeah. I don't know why that nickname died, but that was a great throwback right there to hear that again. I honestly kind of forgot it existed until you just said it. But yeah, I mean, the guy is the man. My picks as a whole were a little bit all over the place on this card, but I nailed this one, and that makes me happy. Rob Font's offense doesn't work nearly as effectively when he can't work behind that jab all fight long. And when you put a somewhat limited Rob Font across from a whirlwind like Jose, he's going to get exposed, and he did. He got cracked multiple times in this fight. To his credit, he survived them, maybe due to a mix of toughness and Aldo not following up quite as hard as he should have at times, it seemed. But Jose Aldo's timing and feeling there is just so good. Like, he stays safe in places it doesn't seem like he should be able to stay safe. It's similar to the comments that we made on Adrian Yanez a week or two ago, which is crazy that I'm putting Yanez's name in the same as Aldo, but it is like they stay safe in places and in tight quarters where it doesn't seem like they should be able to stay safe, just because their timing and their feel is that good, and that's what Jose's is. Would I've liked to see more aggression out of him when he had Font hurt a bunch of times? Yeah, he was pretty content to just go to the ground with him. And then when they were on the ground, he kind of concerned himself more with control instead of opening up and trying to find finishes. But, I'm not sure why that was the case, but on the positive side of it, it probably did remind people just how good Aldo is on the ground with his jiu-jitsu, because he controlled the hell out of Rob Font. I mean, Rob Font was going nowhere. And maybe most noteworthy of all from Aldo's performance were the damn leg kicks. Like, if I'm his coaches, I'm showing him replays of round 3 on a loop. They told him to go to leg kicks. He listened. He comes out. He hadn't thrown one the whole fight yet. Comes out, throws 4 kicks in the first minute of round 3, kind of goes away from it, ends up throwing like 3 more in the final minute, and Rob Font is hobbled by the end of the round. Like, there's no better example of like, look at this, Jose, look what you can do. And guess what? You're allowed to do this in all your fights, whenever you want. Like, I don't know why he has gone away from it. I pray he keeps bringing him in. It was great to see in that round. But all in all, just a fantastic performance from Jose Aldo. The guy is maybe just as good still as he ever was, and I friggin' love it.
Omar, let's bring you into this. What were your impressions off of the performance of Jose Aldo?
Yeah, it was a great performance. I think Rob Font has a lot of tools, but he just doesn't have the power differential was vastly significant. And I think you could see that every time Aldo really touched him, Font was all over the place with the reaction. And I don't think the power was the same from Font, hitting Aldo. Although Aldo took a good amount of damage in that fight. And, Font was in that fight for, I think he lost the majority, obviously, of that fight. He lost the decision, but he was at no point did he give up, right? He kept fighting.
Oh, yeah.
He kept giving Aldo a run for his money all the way up to the final bell. So it was a fantastic fight. But Aldo beat the shit out of him.
Yeah. Aldo had to keep putting him down because he wouldn't stop bringing it. Like, Aldo was like, all right, I'm going to have to drop you again because you're not leaving me alone.
Yeah, even on the ground, too, he wasn't just staying still. I mean, he was hurt. And Font's eye, I'm pretty sure, is busted up. I'm pretty sure there's a broken orbital in there somewhere.
Yeah, dude, Jose's eye was messed up, too.
Yeah, Jose's eye was almost completely closed by the end of that fight.
It was weird. It almost reopened as it would. Like, in round 3, it was almost completely closed. And then by the end of 4, it was kind of open again.
Yeah. It was I mean, they both took a lot of damage in that fight, but Jose, you could see, just had a lot more power behind all of his attacks.
And Rob Font, let's make no mistake, this guy, he came to win. He came out of the gate from the first bell of the opening round. He was trying to put it right on Jose Aldo. He was just getting right into it. He said, no, we're not going to do any kind of feeling out. I'm going to come right out and be very aggressive. And I thought for the majority of that first round, I thought Rob Font was winning on the scorecards.
Oh, great.
But like you said, the power differential in Jose Aldo's favor was definitely the story of the fight.
Yeah.
Let's talk about where these gentlemen go from here. Bantamweight Jose Aldo 2.0. Mark, let me start with you. In the picture of the elite of bantamweight, which is now a murderer's row. It is now a who's who. It's a division in and of itself. It's, to me now, it's neck and neck with lightweight. Who would you want to see him fight next?
I mean, we got it. I have been hoping for the stars to align to let us see TJ Dillashaw in a cage with Jose Aldo, and we got it. It seems like what is clearly the fight to make. The only thing that could ruin it at this point is if Aljamain Sterling is not ready to fight Petr Yan, and they end up giving that fight to TJ instead. So please, Aljo, don't crush my dreams here. Hopefully Aljo's healthy. We set up Aljo versus Yan 2, and then the dream matchup that is TJ Dillashaw and Jose Aldo can happen, and it better be 5 rounds.
Yeah, man. I mean, Jose Aldo, he only loses to the who's who so far. I mean, he dropped a split decision to Marlon Moraes, but other than that, his losses are to Connor, Max, Volk, and Yan.
Yep.
I mean, that is crazy.
I don't even think he lost that fight to Moraes personally.
Yeah, most people didn't. Remember, they treated him like he won it.
Yeah.
Didn't he get a title shot right off of it?
Yep.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah, with Yan, right. Yeah.
So Jose has lost. He dropped 3 straight to Volk, Moraes, and Petr Yan, but now he has won 3 straight against Marlon Vera, Pedro Munoz, and Rob Font. Omar, let me get your take. Where do you see Jose getting matched up with next at bantamweight?
It's got to be Dillashaw. It has to be Dillashaw. This isn't one of the ones where you can kind of mess around and there are options. No, it needs to be Dillashaw. It needs to be Dillashaw versus Aldo, 100%.
I got to be honest. I at first was so skeptical when Jose Aldo was going down to bantamweight. I was like, looking at the guy's physique, I was like, what weight does this guy have left to lose?
Yeah.
To cut another 10 pounds.
Do you remember the stories of how bad his weight cuts were at 145?
Yeah.
Like
really? They were bad at 145?
Oh my God. It was notorious how bad his weight cuts were. Like if you ever told me he was changing divisions, I would have bet my life that it was going up, not down. Because you'd always hear how bad it was. And he says it himself. He's like, I don't know whatever I changed in my diet with this dietitian that he got with, he was like, my cuts to bantamweight are literally easier than my cuts to featherweight were because he changed like his whole frame, which you can see his frame is very different.
Right. He's always been a muscular guy, but always a ripped guy.
Yeah.
I mean, at 5'7", he would have been a very small lightweight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what about Rob Font? Omar, let me start with you. Looking at the landscape of the UFC bantamweight division, where do you stop on from here? The UFC has him ranked currently at 5. I'm curious where Mr. Priaulx has him ranked in our own ranking system. That being said, there is Corey Sandhagen. He hasn't fought yet. I don't think he's fought Dillashaw. I don't think he's fought Marab. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Omar, go.
I was actually thinking of you said it the first time. Corey Sandhagen, Sandman. I think that's actually a really good fight, especially both of them coming off of a loss at this point. I think Font still deserves to be at the top of the pack at this point. And I think Corey is the perfect fight to make sure that both of them still deserve to be in that top 5.
Nice. Okay. Nice. Before we move on, guys, anything else you want to say about the King of Rio?
I would just say I agree with Omar's take on who Font should fight. That's exactly who I was going to say. And I do have him 5 to answer your question. Same as the UFC. I think that they got a ready-made banger ready to go. Omar said 2 guys coming off losses. You throw him and Sandhagen in there. It's going to be fireworks. It can be a main event of a fight night still, despite the fact they just came off losses. And these guys are both good. You get one of them right back in the mix. I think it's the obvious way to go.
I'm sorry. I forgot to get your take. I forgot to ask you your take.
That's all right. I thought you just didn't care, but
rough on.
Throw it in there.
Okay. With that being said, congrats to Jose Aldo on being on the marquee. And now, gentlemen, let us turn to the Bellator side of the MMA world, where also this past weekend at Bellator 272, we had quite the main event. Sergio Pettis defeated Kyoji Horiguchi by knockout via spinning back fist from hell at 3 minutes and 24 seconds of round number 4. Omar, let me start with you. What were your impressions of this fight and on Pettis' retaining his Bellator bantamweight title?
There were so many things to take away from this fight. One of them is Horiguchi's fucking mad good. Like, he's so goddamn good. You know what I mean? He got caught. That's the reality. I think Pettis knows that that's the reality. Fair, obviously. No one's taking anything away from Pettis. I mean, the back fist in and of itself is probably one of the most beautiful things you'll see this year. Off of a missed head kick, no less, right?
Yep.
But every minute of that fight, for the most part, was Horiguchi's. The timing, the unorthodox movement, the control on the ground. I mean, was impressive. Horiguchi was just so goddamn good everywhere. But it shows you at that championship level, regardless of whether it's Bellator or UFC, you sleep for a second, somebody will put you out for longer. And Horiguchi, it's hard to criticize Horiguchi because the shit works for him. But if you watch that clip in slow motion, of course, his hands are completely down. When you break from a clinch, you want to have your hands up, right? Like if you're at a gym, your coach is going to yell at you if you don't have your hands up when you're breaking from a clinch. But it's hard to criticize guys at that level because 99% of the time that works. They're able to do that kind of stuff. They're able to play with those inches it didn't work for Horiguchi in that moment, and he just lost a perfect fight.
Mark, what happened in there for Horiguchi? I mean, he was more or less dominating this fight for 15 plus minutes. And then in the fourth round, he got caught in a scramble. What was your impressions of Pettis' comeback?
Yeah, nothing happened to him other than that he got caught. You know, basically, long story short, sometimes shit happens in fighting, and shit happened. You know, Kyoji completely outclassed Sergio Pettis for about 18 minutes until he didn't. His speed and his reflexes seemed like they were too much for Sergio to keep up with. He clearly had the wrestling edge, as Omar said. And honestly, from what we saw between them, if they were to fight again, I think Kyoji's probably the betting favorite again, despite the KO. I mean, to be fair, Sergio was barely even landing strikes. He landed, I think they said in the broadcast, he landed single-digit strikes in each of the first 3 rounds. Like, he was getting kind of shut out. And then in round 4, Pettis shit happened. That's what it was. It was Pettis shit. Like, nothing changed about the way either man was fighting. The fight was humming along the same way, but then Sergio Pettis throws a right head kick that Kyoji ducks under. And before Sergio's foot is even hitting the ground, if you watch, again, I watched it in slow-mo like Omar did too, he is already torquing his body to throw the left spinning back fist following the right head kick. Like, who does that? No one does that. Only Pettis, Anthony and Sergio. That's who. So Pettis magic strikes again. Usually it's Anthony. Now Sergio has his own classic moment of Pettis magic. Kyoji in that moment, I'm sure already thinks he's safe because the head kick has sailed over his head. He thinks he's clear. He's stepping away. Next thing he knows, a back fist is hitting him in the face. So, you know, it's just exactly like I said in the beginning. Shit happens sometimes. But credit to Sergio for seeing that Kyoji was out cold from the spinning back fist and not following up on that hammer fist on the ground. But what an unreal way to defend your title and to put down a guy like Horiguchi, an amazing comeback for Pettis and probably the signature win of his career so far.
I mean, it
100%.
happened so fast. You guys both mentioned that you each watched it in slow motion. I didn't do that. But I did. I had to watch it maybe 3 or 4 times and trying to keep rewinding 5-10 seconds. And I was like, what happened? How did he get caught? And you're right. Like, he was throwing the back fist before his kick even finished landing. And Horiguchi did not even see it coming one bit. He probably ducked under the kick and then woke up and was like, what happened?
Yep.
Man, minutes later, because that boy was out for a long, kind of a scary long time, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
It was brutal.
Yeah, he got knocked out.
I
bad.
mean,
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of his
really
KOs
was.
this year. That's on the KO of the year list.
It was bad. Yeah, it was a bad one for sure.
I would ask you guys where both of these fighters go next at Bellator bantamweight, but we know what's happening next is that Bellator is now creating a bantamweight. What do they call it? A Grand Prix, a tournament.
Yep.
So that being said, kind of alluding to what you were saying earlier, Mark, how would you rank this tournament?
Oof. Ranking it 1 through 8.
You might not have to do that. I was meant more of these 2 guys right here.
Where they would stand? Oh, I think they're the top 2 in the tournament. Yeah, I think they're the top 2 in the tournament. I'm thrilled this tournament is happening. As you guys know on this show. Sorry, go ahead. What do you ask me?
Who would you put as the 1 seed?
Oh, it's the champ. I mean, the champ's got to be the champ is the champ.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if they were going to put Horiguchi as the 1 seed.
No, they don't do seeds anyway. They just kind of pick matchups.
Oh, I see.
But I was starting to say I'm so glad they're doing it. We've talked about it on the show a bunch of times how we really felt like that was the next tournament they should do. You know, personally, I love these Bellator tournaments. I'm always a sucker for a tournament, and Bellator's bantamweight division was just screaming that it was time. It seemed like maybe they were avoiding it because they started booking some bantamweight fights, and then poof, like out of the blue, when you least expected it, they announce it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great 8-man field. The main guys who got left out are Darian Caldwell, Jornel Lugo, and Josh Hill. They all probably have a legitimate gripe, but some guys had to get left out. We've said that on the show. It was kind of like a dozen guys in that spot. Some are going to have to get left out. But real quick, for those who don't know, the field that we got is the champ, Sergio Pettis, Kyoji Horiguchi, Juan Archuleta, Patchy Mix, Raufeon Stotts, Magomed Magomedov, Leandro Higo, and James Gallagher, which is a great field. And really the only question, we don't know how they're going to match up the other guys. The only real interesting question to me is that you got to remember the title's always on the line in these tournaments. So first round, Pettis is defending his title right away. So that what I'm curious about is who they're going to give this first title shot to, because Pettis just beat Horiguchi. It's not going to be him. I doubt they do an immediate rematch. They probably want that to try to be, the finale, you would think. He just beat Archuleta right before that. Magomedov and Gallagher are both coming off losses, so I don't think it's them. That leaves Stotts, Mix, and Higo. And I don't think it'll be Higo. He's been a little behind. So the question really is, do they skyrocket Stotts all the way up to a title fight, who really hasn't even fought that top 10 yet, but he's so good. 17-1, I think his record is at this point. So that would be crazy if he gets the title shot right out of the gate, or if they go with the guy who's a little more of a vet, been in there with some more guys in Patchy Mix. So my guess is it's one of those two guys that fight Sergio first round. But I'm curious to see who will get that shot. It'll be interesting.
Well, Brian, let me just get this take from you in terms of the upcoming Bellator Bantamweight Grand Prix. Who is your favorite? And also, I'm going to ask you to pick a dark horse.
Oh, I like this.
Or just somebody that you like, who you want the listener to, who might not know that much about Bellator's Bantamweight division, somebody else to keep an eye on in this tournament.
It kind of sucks that we have to keep putting Horiguchi and Pettis back together again, because I like them equally, and I kind of want both of them to win, but obviously they can't.
I think they put them on opposite sides. If I had to guess,
they should.
No, I agree, and I think the goal, right, is to get Pettis Horiguchi too by the end of that tournament, ideally. But I think my favorite, if we're looking on paper, is Horiguchi for me.
Mine too.
With the dark horse at this point, honestly, it's probably Gallagher. Gallagher talks a lot of shit, but
just talk so much shit.
He talks a lot of shit, but he's relatively inconsistent, especially when we start talking about the top tier of the divisions.
Mm-hmm.
So even though he comes in with a lot of Conor McGregor swagger, he doesn't necessarily have the same backup that Conor McGregor did when he was kind of going through the rankings in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is pretty much, I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I think Mark knows a bit more about Bellator's guys than I do, but everybody else is pretty much solidified themselves, I guess, with the exception of Leandro Higo.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else has pretty much done something to warrant.
Yeah. I would say most of these guys, pulling an upset on someone would not shock me. I'm curious to see what the betting odds are, because honestly, if the third most favored guy after Horiguchi and Pettis was Raufeon Stotts, I wouldn't be shocked. So that's who I want to say is my dark horse, because I really am impressed by him. But he may come out the third betting favorite in the tournament. So I don't know. I kind of got to wait to see what the lines are like before I tell you who my dark horse is. But that would be my name to watch, is Raufeon Stotts. For a name that people may not know as well, that would be the guy.
Yeah. Well, Bellator's Bantamweight division is definitely a bright spot in their promotion right now. And Bantamweight overall, guys, I mean, between UFC and Bantamweight, something about this weight limit is filled with so many talented people right now.
Yep.
Let me ask you guys this one last question. Where would you slot in? Let's do both of these two athletes who just fought, both Sergio Pettis and Horiguchi. Mark, on this very podcast, you have talked about your ranking system, which we call the Priaulx Rankings, that it is only really a UFC ranking, and it is not yet a global ranking system. So are you looking at your rankings right now, Mark?
I am, because I know what you're going to ask me.
Yes. Where would you slot in to your bantamweight rankings, Mr. Sergio Pettis and Mr. Kyoji Horiguchi?
So it's very hard, unfortunately, because despite the fact that Sergio Pettis was in the UFC, he was in the UFC as a flyweight. So you'd like to say, oh, he fought some of these guys. Really, he hasn't. The only one he fought, I'm looking through his thing. The only one he fought who's currently in the bantamweight top 10 is Rob Font, and Rob Font beat him. Kyoji was in the UFC too back in the day. Again, he was a flyweight. He hasn't fought any of these guys either. Right. So you don't have that perfect comparison to make. I think. See, it's weird because I think Kyoji's better than Pettis, but right now you'd have to rank Pettis over Kyoji because he just knocked him out. So it's a little
Beat him.
awkward.
Yeah.
I would have probably put Kyoji in kind of right around Font. Like I would have left Aldo, Jan, TJ, Corey, Aldo. I think those are probably a clear top 5. You get into Font, Vera, Marab. I kind of think Kyoji's right there. I would have maybe said Pettis is a little lower, more with like the Pedro Munoz, Marlon Moraes grouping. But, you know, so many of these guys could beat the other guy on any given day too. So it's hard to really like cut and dry, break it down like that. But yeah, I think there's probably the 5 best bantamweights in the world are all in the UFC, if not a couple more. And then you throw in Horiguchi and Pettis right around there.
Okay. I like it. Thank you. All right, gentlemen. Anything else you want to say?
Did I go more in depth there than you were wanting?
No, this is great.
Right.
It's great. Let us now turn away from this Bellator recap and let us now join back up with UFC this past UFC fight night, Aldo versus Font, and throw some of the rest of these fights from this fight night card into our lightning round. Okay, gentlemen. In the co-main event, Rafael Fiziev, 3rd round knockout over Brad Riddell. Omar, go first.
I felt bad for both of these guys because apparently they're cool. It seems like they've kind of switched off as being coaches of their respective team that they're from. But what a stand-up fight. What a spinning heel kick. What a knockout. Crazy shit.
Mark, Fiziev knocks out Riddell. What's your take?
What a sick fight. Both of these guys are so damn good. I'm somewhat stunned that Riddell didn't try to mix it up more with the wrestling. I really thought that blend at least would be his path to victory, and he really didn't even try to employ it. I think there was one takedown attempt in the 3rd. And in the end, he paid for it, engaging with Fiziev for that long on the feet. Like, you let him go that long. A guy like Fiziev is going to start to make his reads, and that's exactly what he did. That head kick was beautiful. And I love Fiziev, man. Like, I think he could be a real problem for these top-tier guys right now.
Jamal Hill, round 1 knockout of Jimmy Crute. This happened at light heavyweight. It took him, less than a minute. It happened at 48 seconds of round number 1. Mark, go first.
Good Lord, Jamal Hill. I mean, shit. That boxing is so clean. The reach was a big factor, I guess, which we didn't really factor in. The MMA world, including us, may have slept on this guy a little bit, and he might be a factor because that was crazy impressive.
Omar, Jamal Hill knocks out Jimmy Crute inside of a minute. What's your take?
I love Jamal Hill. I've been a fan of Jamal Hill since I've seen him on the scene. I thought the last fight that he had where you guys' arm popped off was just a bit of arrogance on his part. But landing the same shot twice to put Jimmy Crute on his ass, thing of beauty, man. It was crazy fight, beautiful finish.
At lightweight, Clay Guida, the ageless wonder, defeated Leonardo Santos via submission by rear naked choke at 1 minute, 21 seconds of round number 2. Omar, go first.
If you ever seen somebody just completely ruin their own situation, that seems to be Leonardo Santos's MO. Like, I've never seen somebody give away a fight probably as clean as that. Blew his wad out in the first round. Really thought he could put away Clay Guida just by rushing him. He must not have ever watched a Clay Guida fight. And paid for it by being a BJJ guy that got submitted by Clay Guida. He'll never live that one down.
Mark, the Carpenter, Clay Guida gets it done over Santos by rear naked choke. What's your take?
Yeah, personally, I kind of thought Santos got robbed a little bit. I think that fight should have been stopped on the knee. I was close to thinking it should have been stopped, and then when that knee landed, I think it should have been, but it wasn't, and you got to deal with it. And Santos had nothing left after half a damn round of action, so it's tough to feel that bad for him. And Clay took advantage. He got the rear naked choke on one of the most credentialed BJJ guys in the whole game. So credit to Clay. That's an awesome freaking feather in his cap.
A couple of up-and-comers clash at middleweight, and Chris Curtis gets his second consecutive win in the UFC now over Brendan Allen, stopping him, winning by TKO with punches and knees at 1 minute and 58 seconds of round number 2. Mark, go first.
Yeah, I apologize to Chris Curtis for calling that a mismatch. Brendan Allen, I thought, was looking really good until he wasn't. Apparently, Chris Curtis is no fucking joke. That body head combo that finished it was beautiful. And man seems like the real deal.
Omar, Chris Curtis now 2-0 in the UFC. What's your take?
Yeah, it seems like Chris Curtis is somebody we're gonna have to take note of from this, from this point going forward. He seems to be very, very dangerous, a lot more dangerous than I think we really thought. Also, Brendan Allen might want to think about not talking so much shit, and maybe he won't get knocked out so devastatingly.
A pair of welterweights led off the main card of UFC Fight Night, Aldo versus Font, and Alex Morono got it done over Mickey Gall, winning by unanimous decision, earning a 30-27 on all 3 judges' scorecards. Omar, what was your take of Morono getting the win?
I love Morono. Just as a person, he just seems like a good dude. I was happy to see him win. Dad is out there crying, watching his son win. Got me all in my feels.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if we see Mickey Gall come back to the UFC at this point. I think he's probably better off going to someplace else, racking up a few wins, getting his confidence back, moving his way up there, and then working his way back into the UFC. But good fucking job for Morono, because I'm just a fan of him.
Mark, your take on Morono getting the unanimous decision over Mickey Gall?
Yeah, he looked like he was a level above, as we kind of expected. I was surprised by how little Mickey Gall tried to initiate the wrestling, but he falls short yet again. I don't think he's gone from the UFC. I do think it's time, like, what they do with Mickey Gall is they give him guys in, like, the top 30, and he loses. And then they give him, like, debuting random fighters, and he wins. Like, there's a shitload of guys who are from, like, 30 to 60. Like, let's try him at one of those guys. Like, we don't need to just skip up and down, up and down. So I'd like to see him fight a couple more like journeyman type guys and see what he can do there and see if he can grow a little bit.
In one of the most exciting bouts on the prelims, Manel Kopp, the Angolan, gets it done over Zhalgas Zhumagulov by TKO in round number 1, coming at 4 minutes and 2 seconds. Mark, what's your take on Kopp getting it done?
Manel Kopp is a sniper, man. Zhumagulov's strategy of continually walking toward Manel Kopp in a striking match was probably not the best one. Kopp made him pay. Nasty finish. Good promo after the fight, too. The guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to market himself. We're going to see him in big fights pretty soon.
Omar, what's your take? Manel Kopp getting it done over Zhumagulov.
Yeah, Manel Kopp is kind of living up to the hype at this point. He came in with a lot of it. He seems to be eating up his own hype. We'll see if that ends up being a good thing or not. But as of right now, I'm on board. Let's see what happens.
And this will be our last bout in the lightning round. And we're going to jump right back over to the Bellator card of Bellator 272 this past weekend. In the co-main event, a very consequential bout went down in the Bellator featherweight division, and Jeremy Kennedy got it done over Emmanuel Sanchez by unanimous decision, earning a 30-27 on all 3 judges' scorecards. Omar, what is your take of Jeremy Kennedy moving up in the rankings?
Well, it was a control fest for the most part. Kennedy was basically on top of him and controlled the fight, took it down when he needed to. There were glimpses of moments for Sanchez in that fight. But for the most part, Kennedy put him exactly where he needed to be for 3 rounds.
Mark, bring us home. Kennedy, UD over Sanchez. What's your take?
Yeah, it surprised me. I never expected that Kennedy could nullify and control Sanchez the way that he did, with Sanchez being such a kind of crazy fighter, to use a less technical term there. But he did it. Biggest win of his career. Maybe we're starting to see a little bit of a slide from Emmanuel Sanchez. We will see maybe in his next fight what he looks like before we officially make that call. But yeah, great win for Kennedy.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And that concludes this week's lightning round. All right. And now let us put a bow on this past weekend UFC fight night, Aldo versus Font, by checking in with Mr. Priaulx right there on the left side of your screens. Mark, give us an update on your Priaulx rankings. Who are the risers and who are the fallers on the heels of UFC fight night, Aldo versus Font?
All right, we got a bunch of movers this week. None are huge per se, so I'll run through them relatively quickly. The most noteworthy one from the co-main is probably Rafael Fiziev, but he moves, not a huge move. He moves from number 16 in my lightweight rankings to number 13. If it's up to me, his next fight is against a real name, someone in the top 10. It's that time, and it's time to see what Fiziev's got. The other one, similar boat, Jamal Hill, moves from number 15 to 11 in my light heavyweight rankings, marching his way up. I'm so impressed with the ease with which he put Crude away, another guy who probably gets a big name here. Then a couple fighters who kind of enter the mix now. Cheyenne Vlismas moves from number 35 to 28 in my women's strawweight rankings after a competitive decision win where she looked really sharp. William Knight moves from number 34 to number 23 in my light heavyweight rankings after beating Alonzo Menafield. Apparently, I was the only person in the world who scored that fight the same way as those judges. Literally, I can't find anyone online who scored it for Knight, but I did. I thought he won. So both him and Vlismas move up kind of into the mix now after being relatively unproven. And then the last two risers, one is Claudio Puelles, moves from number 60 to 49 in my lightweight rankings. He's now 4-1 in the UFC after dispatching Chris Gritzmacher, but it's over the span of like 6 years, which is crazy. And that's why he's not really moving up here. But this is his best win yet, so we'll see if it gets him going. And then the last is Vince Morales, moves from number 63 to number 49 at bantamweight by virtue of knocking out Louis Smolka in the first round. Moves his record back to 500 and moves up a bit with a nice finish. And unfortunately, I think Smolka might kind of be done at this point. My fallers, this is where there's a more noteworthy one, and it is Leo Santos. He was my number 24 lightweight. One fight ago, he was like my number 15 lightweight. So in 2 fights, he has moved from 15 to 24 to now 41.
Holy Christ.
There was a time where Santos could have beaten a lot of guys. Unfortunately, he rarely fought. And now with his cardio failing him more and more of late, it seems like that time has passed. Clay Guida is not someone who's ranked terribly high anymore these days. He's kind of win one, lose one. And it's not a great loss to have. So he falls all the way to 41 in my lightweight rankings. And the last is Zhalgas Zhumagulov, moves from number 16 in my flyweight rankings to number 25. He had a nice pre-UFC resume, but at 1-3 in the promotion, I kind of have to move him down the line. And I think he'll probably get one more shot just because he had hype coming in, and he's lost to some tough guys, but he certainly moves down, falling to 1-3. And that is it for this week.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That is the conclusion of our very own ranking system, the Priaulx Rankings. We are dedicated here, folks. We're so dedicated, we make our own rankings system. And by we, I mean Mark. All right. Before we jump into our next segment, looking towards the future, as well as our update on current events with Inside the MMA Sphere, like and subscribe. Don't miss an episode. If you like our takes, and if you don't like our takes, then leave a comment. That would be awesome. Follow us on social media at @new_MMA show. Thank you so much. And with that being said, Omar, let's dive inside the MMA sphere. What are the headlines and current events in the MMA world?
All right. So this week we've got some interesting stories. First of which is Rashad Evans coming out of retirement. He will be fighting in the, I believe this is Khabib's organization, Eagle FC.
Yep.
And he'll be fighting, I believe, at light heavyweight. I'm not really sure what the hell is happening here.
Yeah.
But there it is.
They gotta be throwing a bunch of money at him.
I am wholly against this. He doesn't need a bunch of money. He does desk work for ESPN.
Yeah.
I would imagine he's okay.
There's been rumors for a little bit that he was wanting back in the game. So like it didn't come totally out of left field to me, but yeah, I can't say I love it.
Oh, I hate
I
it.
mean, Evan strikes me as a guy who, also given the era that was his prime, he probably didn't make millions and millions in his fighting career, but he made some money. He made some money for sure. And plus endorsement deals and personal sponsors and stuff like that. And like you said, he does desk work for the UFC. They probably don't pay him 40 grand a year. They probably pay him something, I would think, in the six figures, but I'm totally just, postulating, but who knows?
I would think a decent six-figure job for that, especially with his credentials. It's not like he's some random guy.
I would think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, maybe it's about the fight. I like I said, I've heard him kind of mention it. I've heard him kind of go on about how he didn't really like how his career ended, that he felt like he still had more to give and he couldn't get it out of himself. So, maybe it's just in his own head. Like he's like, I got to see what I got one more time. Maybe he's feeling better physically these days. Who knows?
Well,
but if it's a loss, I certainly hope that's the end.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest issue with him is that he never let his hands go. Literally never. There's like, I don't even know how long he went fighting like that, not punching anybody.
In his prime, he didn't even let his hands go that much. It's just that when he did, it would knock you out.
I don't know. It just seems crazy to me that he's going back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope for the best, but I'm not expecting a hell of a lot. After our last recording, pretty much right after our last recording, Felicia Spencer announced that she was retiring from MMA.
Oh,
so
okay.
After her recent win, she's basically like, I've been in a lot of wars, taken a lot of damage at this point, even in my short time here. The only way to make sure that I don't take any more damage is to not put myself back in there. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that one coming.
Me either, but I respect the reason,
Sure.
I think especially knowing she's not going to be like the next greatest thing, right? Like I think she knows what her ceiling is. So it's a good choice.
There is now no one left at women's featherweight. It's Nunez, Norma Dumont, and the girl that Spencer just beat, Leah Letson. Literally 3 people. Maybe Holm takes a fight up there. Like it can't get less people in it.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think if they're going to do anything with it, they need to just throw a tough on there and just let it be, and let's see what happens.
I really think they want to let it die if they are not going to sign Harrison. I think that's all they're waiting on, to see if they're signing Kayla Harrison or not.
And who knows how long Amanda's still going to be fighting after this point? Because I mean, what else does she have to prove?
Yeah.
So, next on the list, Kevin Holland is moving to welterweight. That should be super interesting.
Yeah.
Kevin Holland is a big boy at welterweight, and there's a lot of interesting matchups that are going on down there.
Oh yeah.
So that might be a very, very, very interesting playing field for Kevin Holland going forward. Last, and maybe a little least, Jake Paul versus Tyrone Woodley 2.
Oh my God.
So here's what happened, right? So Tommy Fury was obviously supposed to fight Jake Paul. There's all this nonsense about it. Tommy Fury is now pulled out of the fight as a result of a broken rib and a subsequent bacterial infection in his chest.
Oh, damn. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's not fighting right now. He does want to get the fight rescheduled. Jake Paul's like, you can go fuck off at this point. And Jake Paul gave Tyron Woodley his rematch. So I'm glad that tattoo didn't go to waste.
Yeah. True.
I should note.
That's true. Oh,
excuse me. I should note that Woodley, remember last time there was a lot of controversy about like there was a clause in Woodley's contract that he's not allowed to knock out Jake Paul and all this other crap. There is now $500,000 on the line if Woodley can knock out Jake Paul.
Like, and I don't know how much he's getting, what his purchase
like a
is.
knockout
Extra?
bonus. Like a knockout bonus.
Yeah. $500,000 if he knocks out Jake Paul.
If he knocks out Jake Paul.
Really?
Yep.
And Jake Paul's the promoter, right?
It's Showtime.
Well, it's Showtime now, yeah.
Showtime.
But I'm pretty sure Jake Paul's got a lot to
Jake Paul
say.
talks, he talks like he's the promoter.
I mean, to be fair, Jake Paul has $500,000 to give him of his own money.
He really is.
So
he keeps it always feeling like he is the brand, though. Like he's fantastic as that.
Yeah.
At that.
Yes.
Kind of like Connor in a way.
Yeah, he keeps it feeling like he is in 100% control of everything.
Yes.
And you got to look, if nothing else, you have to give the kid credit. I would never step in the ring with Tyron Woodley.
Me neither. You already beat him. I thought the same thing. I was like, you know what? The fact that this fight fell through and he had every excuse to be like, oh, Fury's the one that left. Like, it's not my fault he left. I'll have to not fight, or I'll have to fight some other random. For him to pick the phone right up and be like, all right, Woodley, I'll give you another shot. I'm kind of impressed by that, because if I got to win over Tyron Woodley, I would be like, see you later, never worrying about that again.
Pretty much. But I give him credit. I give him credit.
I had the opposite reaction. I thought it was very smart, because I think whatever promoter is emerging out of Jake Paul, he's setting up the trilogy. It's going to, I mean, now there's going to be that many more eyeballs now. And if Woodley wins, even if he does knock out Jake Paul, then they're going to fight a third time and have a trilogy fight, and 1-1 have a rubber match. It's going to sell. They're probably going to make another
goal, though,
20
man. If you're Jake Paul, you had your eyes on a much higher prize than that after you beat Woodley. Like, why would you be thinking about a trilogy when you already beat the guy?
Yeah, I mean, if we're being honest, Tommy Fury would have been the first real boxer he fought that would have really legitimized this whole nonsense.
Yeah, who's not even really a real boxer, but yes, I mean, yeah, I agree.
He's more of a real boxer than anybody else he's fought.
Correct. Yes.
So,
how do you mean that Tommy Fury is not a real boxer?
I just mean that he's super unproven in his own right.
I see what you're saying.
But is a boxer.
Yeah. Wrong words by me, but yeah.
Where like Tyron Woodley's been a champion. He's been proven. He's done all these things. He's got all these accolades. He's not a boxer.
Yes.
Right.
Tommy Fury hasn't done shit, but he's a boxer. So whereas it would have been nice to see that, but whatever. It is what it is at this point.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it pretty much for the stories. Let's get you guys into some fight picks. Let's see. Gerald Meerschaert looks like he will be replacing two former fighters. Both of their names are very difficult to say. Chao Borralho and Abusupian Magomedov.
Jesus. Against who?
Well, so both of them look like they were replaced. It looks like this was a series of people getting out of this fight. And so it'll be Gerald Meerschaert fighting Dustin Stolfutz at UFC Fight Night 199 on December 18th. So that'll be next week.
Didn't Meerschaert just sub Muradov in his last fight? Now I got to look at this.
I'm not sure.
I'm going to have this in front of me very quickly. Yeah, dude, Meerschaert just subbed Mahmoud Muradov. Like, what a weird fight for him to take. He should be getting such a better fight than that.
I just want a nice payday before Christmas.
I guess. The freaking Stoltzfus is 0-2 in the UFC.
That is correct. 13-3 in MMA, but 0-2 in the UFC.
Weird one. Yeah, maybe he's looking at it like that. I don't know. All right.
Julia Avila is out against Macy Chasson. And it will be Raquel Pennington.
Raquel, wow, stepping in, wow.
Other way around. Chasson is stepping in.
Against Raquel Pennington?
Yes. The fight was Pennington Avila.
Goddamn fucking sources, piece of crap.
Yeah. That's why I was confused for a second. So Chasson is in that fight. Wow. Big fight for Chasson. Wow.
So much for copy and paste being reliable. All right. Next on my list, Gabriel Benitez versus TJ Brown. You guys know how I feel about Gabriel Benitez.
Oh, yeah.
For better or worse, Team Benitez all day.
I kind of think Benitez got cut. I guess not. I don't know why I thought that, but that's good news because I
don't remember him getting cut. Awesome. But I am glad to see him back. Hopefully he wins this one. He's been in some wars that haven't gone his way.
Hell yeah.
That'll be January 15th, UFC Fight Night. Jack Hermanson versus Sean Strickland.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
What a fight. What a fight.
Good
fight. I got to be honest. As much as Jack Hermanson is very good, I am genuinely terrified for him because I'm pretty sure Sean Strickland is going to beat the shit out of him.
Hermanson? Man, Hermanson's
Jack's
good.
A beast, man. If Jack can get that to the grounds, it's going to get interesting.
That's what I mean. Hermanson's good, man. Like, don't get me wrong. This is not a slight on Hermanson. This is just Strickland just seems like a psychopath.
It is probably a style clash. Like if that stays on the feet, Strickland will win.
Right.
If he can get it down, Hermanson will win. Most likely. But that's a great matchup.
That one's going to be UFC Fight Night, February 5th.
How long is Luke Rockhold out for? I kind of thought they were just going to wait for Luke, but apparently not.
I don't know. I see Luke on his Instagram drinking all kinds of different teas and hiking and swimming in glaciers and shit. I don't see any training.
Yikes. All right.
I don't know.
If Omar doesn't see training on your Instagram, you're out.
Fucking guy. Next on the list is Misha Serkinov versus Mahmoud Muradov. That one is going down February 26th, UFC Fight Night.
Let's go on.
Also on that card, Terrence McKinney, who is a up-and-comer in the UFC. He was the one who had a very good knockout, then did a backflip and blew out his knee. Versus Fars Ziam, I believe is his name, who is 2-1 in the UFC. Also on the same card, Jessica I versus Manon Fiorot.
Oh, the French.
Fior. Just Fior. You don't even say the OT. It's the weirdest name.
Like the word, almost like the word four.
Yeah.
Like the number 4, but said funny.
Oh, wow. So Fior got a big fight.
Yes.
They moved her pretty quick. Really quick.
So all 3 of those fights will be February 26th on the UFC Fight Night. I'm sorry. That the Manan and Jessica fight would actually be March 5th. And our boy Guido Canetti somehow survives the pink slip from the UFC.
Don't understand it.
I honestly don't either. I like him, but I don't get it.
Oh, yeah. The guy's uncuttable.
But he's fighting Chris Moutinho. That was the gentleman who took the legendary ass beating from Sean O'Malley. So that fight will be interesting to see what comes out of that, because I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to take away from that fight as it is, but it'll be there. Next on the list, March 19th, UFC Fight Night, Luana Carolina versus Molly McCann. That I think is going to be a very fun fight for McCann. I want to see exactly where she's at in her UFC career. Luana Carolina is 3-1 in the UFC, and Molly McCann's 4-3. So it's kind of time for Molly to do something.
Okay.
Francisco Figueiredo, brother to former flyweight champion Davison Figueiredo versus Jake Headley. And last but not least, Amanda Hebos versus Michelle Watterson.
Yes.
That one's in the works for UFC Fight Night on March 26th. That's all I got for you guys.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir, on keeping us abreast with the goings on in the MMA sphere. And now, gentlemen, it's time to take a 20-minute intermission because the rest of the show is going to be so exhausting in the best way. I'm kidding. But ladies and gentlemen, listeners and viewers, if you want to get up and stretch your legs right now, because we are about to dive into UFC 269, Oliveira versus Poirier. Like and subscribe. Find us on YouTube and New MMA Show. Find us wherever you get your podcasts and New MMA Show, and follow us on all the socials at and new_MMA Show. Gentlemen.
Real quick.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Before we jump into it, I did want to mention this past card. Dusko Tudorovic. Is that how I pronounce his name? Tudorovic?
Go with it.
Dusko won his fight by knockout, which was impressive because it was a little bit of a comeback knockout. The thing I wanted to mention was this boy got run over by a car.
Literally?
Yeah. Like, what was it? Like a week or like a couple weeks before the fight, actually, July. So a couple months before the fight went down. There are pictures of this dude's foot online.
Oh, damn.
I don't know how he fought, but it's gross. And kudos to him for pulling through that, because damn.
Okay.
Just felt I should mention it.
Yes. A PS for the inside the MMA sphere. Okay. Well, gentlemen, UFC 269 is upon us this coming Saturday night. This is one of the biggest cards of the year in terms of the total talent amassed in one single event, from top to bottom, from bottom to top. And that is why we are now going to say at least something about every bout on this pay-per-view card. So let us begin.
It's got to be the deepest card I can remember in some time.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
The prelims could be their own event, and it would be a sick fucking event.
Yeah, absolutely right. All right. In the women's flyweight division, opening the early prelims, Gillian Robertson takes on Priscila Cachoeira. Guys, what do we think about this fight happening at women's flyweight at 125? Mark, what do you think?
So I'm going to try to give you guys the odds for every fight. I know I forget here and there, but I will try. Gillian Robertson, big favorite, minus 380. Cachoeira plus 280. For me, this fight comes down to wrestling and grappling. We've seen Cachoeira controlled by lesser grapplers before. Even Gina Mazzani just had success there in a loss against Cachoeira, but still had her success on the ground. Robinson is a much better grappler than Mazzani, so I think she can do it more effectively. And with her jits being as good as it is, I think we could even see a sub. So I will say Gillian Robertson, round 2 sub.
Omar, what's your take? What do you think about Gillian Robertson?
Yeah, I think this is a bad matchup personally for Cachoeira. I think Cachoeira has a lot more tools on the feet, but Robinson's never really been one to let the fight stay there in almost any fight that she's been in. So I think once it goes to the ground, it becomes vastly different. And her skill level, I think, is vastly more, is a lot more dangerous than what Cachoeira has to bring on the ground. So I'm going to go with Robinson by submission.
Okay. I agree. I like the pick. I'm a big Robertson fan. In the bantamweight division, Randy Costa comes back after his TKO loss against Omar's boy, Adrian Yanez, taking on Tony Kelley. Omar, let me start with you. What is your take on Costa stepping back into the octagon after a loss at the hands of your spirit animal?
Randy Costa is a very good fighter. There is no shame in losing
real good
to Adrian Yanez. It is okay. So I'm not going to hold that against him. I actually think his hands are very, very good. The fight with Adrian Yanez was actually a very good fight. Very competitive fight, and it was because Randy Costa has hands. So with that being said, I actually think he puts it on Tony Kelley, and I think Randy Costa comes out the winner in that fight.
Mark, what's your take? Costa, Kelley, both trying to shoulder their way into the very stacked, as we know, UFC bantamweight division. What's your take? Costa versus Kelley.
Yeah, I think we're all excited to see Costa after that electrifying round 1 performance where he put it on Yanez out of the blue when no one really expected it. Obviously, then he wilted in the second, but still, he's a very dynamic fighter. He will absolutely be the more dynamic guy in this one. Kelley feels a bit one note. He's kind of good everywhere, but nothing really stands out to you. And I think because of that, we maybe see something flashy here. I think Randy Costa gets KO in round 1.
Nice. I like that pick. Let's keep marching up these early prelims. In the featherweight division, Ryan Hall takes on Darrick Minner. Ryan Hall coming off of his first loss in the UFC at the hands of, what's that guy's name? Ilia Topuria.
Yep.
And Darrick Minner is also coming off of a loss at the hands of Darren the Damage Elkins. Omar, let me start with you again. What's your take? Ryan Hall, a guy who, before that first loss, kind of had the reputation of being such an elite BJJ expert. Nobody wanted to fight him at featherweight.
Yeah, so I still like Ryan Hall. His approach to his fights are very unorthodox, to say the least. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, though, is frankly top tier. I mean, that's just a fact. The kind of the difference that you saw, especially in his last fight, is it's not a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fight. This is an MMA fight. And so he got knocked the fuck out trying to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu things. It didn't work out for him. I don't expect him to keep doing the same things. His unorthodox movements and his unorthodox game have led him to all the success that he's had in the past. So to give him shit off of one loss doesn't really make any sense. With that being said, Darrick Minner has 8 submission losses on his career. I don't think Ryan Hall walks away without one of this kid's limbs attached to him. So I go Ryan Hall submission, round 1.
Mark, seems like a pretty solid take. What do you think?
Yeah, I have the same take. I forgot to give you one of the odds already. Randy Costa was 2-1 favorite. Sorry. In this one, Ryan Hall minus 225, Minner plus 180. I think it's a perfect fight for Hall to bounce back. We kind of always knew that when Hall got put in there with someone who was versed in jiu-jitsu and was an athlete, that it was going to be a problem for Ryan Hall, and that's exactly what we saw. This is not the same. I don't think Minner has enough to offer on the feet to be able to fully lean on that. I think Minner is so used to being on the ground that it will eventually end up there just because that's where his game happens a lot of the time. He's not the athlete that's Poirier was to give Hall those kind of problems. And I think that when it hits the ground, it will go badly for Minner pretty quick. I will say Ryan Hall by sub. I guess I'll say round 2. For some reason, I don't want to say round 1. So I'll say round 2 sub by something involving a leg.
Yes, I'm going to say heel hook, knee bar, something like that.
Yeah.
He's going to do some kind of Imanari roll and grab a limb and do his thing. He's going to go to work. It's time to eat.
For those of you out there who will watch this weekend, if you want a fun drinking game, take a shot every time Ryan Hall goes for an Imanari roll. You and your boys will get seriously drunk just from that one fight. I promise you.
I like playing the game of what other profession does Ryan Hall look like he's about to do when he steps into
Facts.
a cage.
Facts.
Like he looks like he could be working like at a Subway. Like he's a guy rolling like, spinach wraps at a Subway.
Yeah.
Honestly, he looks like a guy that installed my Verizon Fios.
I was literally just going to say that. I was just saying he looks like the guy that comes to your house to install your cable.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Of all the professions that we both said that, freaking wild.
I know this is a little bit of a tangent, but I was just talking to somebody today about one of my favorite things about being a ring announcer and being in the cage with fighters as they're coming into the cage is just the diversity of different kinds of energies that guys and girls bring into a fight, and how some people come in there huffing and puffing and breathing in and out of their nostrils like they are a bull about to be let out of the pen. And like they might punch me if they like get too close to me. And on the other end of the spectrum, there are dudes who look so unenthused, uninterested, like not even like that they're stoic. And some guys are stoic. I would consider that kind of in the middle. But a guy like a Ryan Hall or like a Machida, the guys who like you look at them and you're like, does he know that he's about to get into a fight?
Yeah.
Yo, Carla Esparza reminds me of that too. Esparza does the same thing.
Yeah.
Like I think
she just like leans against the cage. She's like, they're like, Carla Esparza. She's like,
yeah. Gunnar Nelson comes to mind.
Yeah.
It's like, does he know that he's about to get into a fight with another killer?
Like he's literally like, oh, so we are gonna still do this? Like, we're gonna when this rings, we're gonna go or not? Like,
yeah. Okay, let's keep going here with the early prelims. In the flyweight division, Alex Perez takes on Matt Schnell. Alex Perez, of course, coming off of a loss in his last loss in 2020 against Davison Figueiredo, and Matt Schnell coming off a loss against I believe it's Rogerio Bontorin. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name, back in May of this year. Omar, let me start with you. What's your take of this flyweight clash, Perez versus Schnell?
Yeah, I'm kind of a big fan of Matt Schnell. I know he's kind of been a little inconsistent, but I kind of enjoy his style of fighting. He's a very aggressive fighter, for better or worse. I can't for the life of me really picture any of Alex Perez's fights. Even the Davison Figueiredo one, I can't picture in my head that fight. I will say on paper, it seems like obviously Alex Perez has a lot more experience, but I would think Matt Schnell has a little bit more tools to bring to the table. So I'm going to go with Matt Schnell by submission, round 3.
Okay, Mark, what's your take on this flyweight bout between Alex Perez and Matt Schnell?
Yeah, so we're still on the early prelims, and we're already into good fights. This is a top 10 flyweight matchup right here.
Crazy.
Odds, Alex Perez is a pretty big favorite, very big favorite, minus 330. Matt Schnell plus 250. To me, these guys have similar skills in a way. Style's a little different, but I just think Perez is a level above. Specifically, I think his power will be an X factor, and just his grit. I think will come to bear. He's more of a dog, and I think he kind of overwhelms Schnell. I will say Alex Perez finishes it by TKO in the third in a fight that he's been winning the whole time.
Okay. I like it. All right, moving up to the women's flyweight division, Erin Blanchfield takes on one of my favorite new female fighters, or one of my new favorite fighters in general, Miranda Fear the Maverick. Maverick, of course, coming off of a very close split decision loss against Macy, the future Barber, back in July of this year. She now stands at 2-1 in the UFC, and Erin Blanchfield is now has 1-0 record in the UFC, with her first fight being against Sarah Alpar, getting the victory by unanimous decision. Mark, let me start with you. What is your take on Miranda Maverick trying to bounce back against Erin Blanchfield?
Yeah, close fight here. Blanchfield was actually the favorite when this fight was first made, when Maverick stepped in to replace Barber, who was originally the opponent here. Now it has flipped. Miranda Maverick is -150. Erin Blanchfield is +120, so still pretty tight. People are high on Blanchfield. She's got some grappling for sure, but Maverick is no slouch in that department either. I do think Maverick will have a striking edge. And I also think, I hope that Maverick will have learned something about output from that Barber decision not going her way, and that she'll up it here to try to leave no question. And I'll say, because of all that, we get a Miranda Maverick unanimous decision.
Hope so. Omar, what's your take? Maverick taking on Blanchfield?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I'd go with Maverick just by unanimous decision. I think Maverick is a lot more well-rounded everywhere. I don't see her necessarily being outclassed in any department. She's kind of shown that if you take her down, you're not going to outclass her on the ground. If you strike with her, you're not going to outclass her striking. And with that being said, I just think she puts a little bit more on the table, just like Mark said, especially after her last fight. I think she puts it on Erin in this one.
Love it. Let us move on now to the fight that closes out the early prelims in the middleweight division. Andre Muniz taking on Eryk Anders. So Muniz has a really nice record, 21-4. He is undefeated so far in the UFC, coming off of a armbar submission victory over Jacare Souza back in May of this year. Was that Jacare's last fight?
Yeah, he broke Jacare's arm.
That's right. And Eryk Anders coming off of a unanimous decision victory over Darren Stewart. So, Omar, let me start with you. What is your take on this middleweight bout?
Well, Eryk, your boy, Anders is always a good time. Somebody who's always down to fight, whether he wins or he loses. But he is very much a person who is prone to losing against somebody who is significantly better than him. And there are guys who are significantly better than him. Muniz's record, his resume on paper is very dangerous and very, very counter to what Anders likes to do. Anders is not necessarily a ground fighter. He likes to strike. He likes to kind of keep the distance, and he doesn't really like to play too much into other people's games. With that being said, Muniz is one of those types of guys that's going to bring him into his game. And if he does, I think he'll find a submission somewhere in the second or the third round.
Mark, what's your take? Andre Muniz, whose nickname is Sergipano, which I don't know what it means. Some kind of Brazilian word. Taking on Eryk, your boy, Anders.
So this is a close fight as well. Muniz is -145. Anders is +115. I was real pumped when this matchup was Andre Muniz against Dricus du Plessis. I really liked that fight. It's a little less exciting to me with Anders in there, but still a good test. Muniz is a guy who I already have ranked at number 11 in my middleweight rankings after he just broke Jacare's arm. But I understand he's got there pretty quick, so I don't mind the Anders test right now, kind of making him, showing that he can beat some different types of guys. But I'm really intrigued by Muniz. I think he's better everywhere than Anders. I think he can take this fight in any direction. I will say that he's looking good on the feet, but still ends up taking it to the ground and finding the sub there. I'll say Muniz sub round 2.
Love it. Love it. And now let us dip into the regular prelims on this pay-per-view card, UFC 269, Oliveira versus Poirier. And in the middleweight division, once again, Jordan Wright takes on Bruno, the Bulldog Silva. Jordan Wright coming off of a TKO victory against Jamie Pickett, and Bruno Silva coming off of a knockout victory over Victor Rodriguez. Omar, let me start with you. What is your take on this middleweight clash?
I'm actually super interested in this fight. Jordan Wright is a very interesting fighter. I love the way he uses his dexterity in his legs. I want to say he's a Taekwondo fighter. I'm not 100% sure how accurate that is, but his legs
feels accurate.
Yeah, his legs are very, very, very limber, just like a Taekwondo fighter. So wouldn't be surprised if that was his background. But that being said, he's got the one loss, so Joaquin Buckley, who put his lights completely out, and then quickly came back against Jamie Pickett to kind of prove himself. Bruno Silva is a dangerous, dangerous fighter, very similar to Joaquin Buckley as far as power is concerned. It's the one thing that I'm concerned about him with is can he take those shots, those big shots? Personally, I think I'm going to go, as much as I like Jordan Wright, I think this is one of those ones where I think Bruno Silva is just going to have an edge over him, and I think we're going to see a KO in round 2.
Mark, what's your take? Jordan Wright, the Beverly Hills Ninja, I forgot to mention that, one of my favorite nicknames right now in the UFC, versus the Brazilian Bulldog Silva. What's your take, Mark?
Yeah, so I've been pumping up Bruno Silva a little bit on this show as one of my names to watch coming up at middleweight, and it seems like people are starting to catch on because he is a minus 360 favorite, which is a lot bigger than I thought he was going to be. Jordan Wright is plus 270 on the other end. It's another interesting middleweight matchup, 2 in a row here on this card. Wright can certainly land some crazy shit, like Omar mentioned. He's an interesting underdog bet, especially at those odds. But as a whole, I just trust Silva's striking and shin more than I do Wright's, and I especially trust Silva's grappling more. If it ends up hitting the mat, which I think would be smart for Silva, I will say that I'm not sure if it ends up hitting the mat because Silva, oddly, despite his BJJ credentials, has kind of kept things standing, and it's worked for him so far. So we'll see which way he goes here, but I think either way, I like him to win a decision.
Okay. All right. From here on out, from this next fight,
yeah, we're getting crazy.
We're getting really crazy. Now every fight from here on out is just ridiculous. Okay. So in the heavyweight division, Augusto Sakai takes on Tai Tuivasa. What a matchup, man. Augusto Sakai, a guy who brought into the UFC a fair amount of hype, is coming off of 2 back-to-back TKO losses at the hands of Alistair Overeem and Jairzinho Rosenstrike. Tai Tuivasa, on the other hand, is bringing a 3-fight winning streak into this bout, most recently sending Greg Hardy to the Shadow Realm. Mark, let me start with you. What is your take on this big-time heavyweight bout?
Yeah, I love this fight. I'm going to try to start mentioning my rankings too, just to give you guys a sense of how big these fights are with still 8 fights to go on this card. So for me, Sakai is my number 9 heavyweight. Tuivasa is my number 16. Betting odds wise, they have this thing as a pick'em, which shows you how great of a matchup it is. As far as my pick, am I going to do it again? Am I going to blindly believe in Tai Tuivasa? Ignore the fact that a seemingly more skilled fighter might outclass him for 15 minutes? You bet I am. I will say that Tuivasa has advanced his game enough. I hope that we're here now. I think he's added enough patience and in-fight analysis to stay safe and find that kill shot. And I will say he does it in round 2, knockout Tai Tuivasa. Cue the shoey.
Cue the shoey. My God. Omar, what's your take? The Brazilian Sakai taking on the Aussie Tuivasa.
Yeah, so Sakai on paper is just more technical. Yes. Definitely against Tuivasa.
Yes. Sorry.
I, however, have seen Tai Tuivasa fight, and even in fights that he's losing, he'll somehow come back and knock you out. So, with that on the brain, I'm picking Tai Tuivasa.
Wow.
By 2nd round knockout.
Wow.
Sakai Tuivasa by second round knockout. My God.
Mike, at
He's
this
coming off
point,
3.
at this point in the card, we need your picks, by the way. So start giving them.
Okay. Sorry. Tuivasa does seem to just have this sort of, I don't know. I don't want to call it X factor. Certainly is an unpredictable factor. Sakai, he did bring in quite a bit of hype into the UFC. His record now
Tuivasa has
at...
what I call effective recklessness.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
Mark, who did you pick? You picked Tuivasa?
I picked Ty. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go against the grain on this show, and I will go with Augusto Sakai. I'm going to say almost all of his fights end in a knockout. I'll go Sakai by 3rd round knockout. I don't know. Let's go.
You're gonna have to make a bunch more of these, so buckle up, partner.
Yeah, baby. Okay, man. Big fight happening in the bantamweight division. Dominic the Dominator Cruz taking on Pedro Muniz, guys. Okay, let me set this up. Dominic Cruz, who of course, there's so much to say about this guy. He is a 36-year-old Californian who is a former UFC champion, former, WEC champion, I want to say? Yes.
Yep.
His whole career has been kind of plagued by foot injuries, but he is coming off of a win against Casey Kenny before dropping his 2nd and 3rd losses of his career back-to-back to Cody Garbrandt and Henry Cejudo. You heard me right. This man only has 3 losses in his professional career, and he's 36 years old. His record stands at 23-3. All right. And then we have Pedro Muniz, who is not somebody to be taken lightly in the UFC bantamweight division, but he is coming off a loss against the legend, the King of Rio, or as we like to call him here on this show, Scarface, Jose Aldo. Mark, let me start with you. What is your take on this fight of the legend, Dominic Cruz, going up against Pedro Muniz?
Speaking of hard to make picks, how do you pick this fight?
Yeah.
This thing is so evenly matched. It's crazy. The odds are a pick 'em as well. In my rankings, I have Muniz as my number 10 bantamweight, Cruz as my number 12. So they're right there. It's an awesome matchup. Right off the bat, I'm so interested to see Dominic Cruz deal with calf kicks. He never has. He's from kind of before the time of calf kicks. And Pedro Muniz, you would think, is going to be firing them because his calf kicks are nasty, as Jimmy Rivera learned. And honestly, they're a great tool for Muniz to rely on in this fight, not only because Cruz may not be used to them, although I'm sure Cruz is freaking training, defending them as much as he can, but still, real fight's different. So not only is Cruz not used to them, but if you can limit Dominic Cruz's movement, that's half the battle right there. So the calf kicks are going to be a key tool for Muniz. Dominic Cruz probably has a wrestling advantage. I should say certainly has a wrestling advantage, but you could ask if he even wants to consider using it, because do you really want to go to the ground with Pedro Muniz? It's not really a guy you want to play with down there. So I don't know. I'm really torn on how this thing plays out. I'm going to go Dominic Cruz. I think I'll even say by split decision. I will say that he uses that 3-inch reach advantage and frustrates Muniz a bit with his movement, just enough to edge out the cards.
Tough fight to pick, Omar. What's your take, buddy?
I think for this one, I'm going to lean more towards Pedro Muniz. I think his power is significantly better than Dominic Cruz.
That's for sure.
I think his leg kicks will provide a problem. And I think it's a little bit more, I think it's even more detrimental than Mark mentioned. I think if you take the Cruz movement away, that is the whole game. Cruz has nothing else. If he doesn't have his footwork, he has nothing else to rely upon. His takedowns and his striking all come from his footwork. So if he is able to dead one of those legs, whichever one it is probably going to be a Muniz night. So I don't see Dominic Cruz, especially in 3 rounds, getting finished. But I do say Muniz wins by decision. Unanimous.
Quick X factor with the leg kicks that could help Cruz is that he is so good at switching stances. So if one is hurt, he can probably just switch and fight the other way and not be terribly troubled by it. But I mean, it depends how badly it's hurt.
Yeah.
I think at this stage in his career, I don't think Cruz is going to have power to make a difference against Munoz, and it's the exact opposite with Munoz. I mean, these guys are they the same age? They might be the same age.
Yeah, Munoz is not young, so that might be the case.
Even though his nickname is the Young Punisher.
They're a year apart.
A year apart. Dominic Cruz is 36 years old, and Pedro Munoz is 35. But for some reason, Cruz seems like the elder veteran here, and Munoz doesn't seem like an up and comer to me, but he's like relatively new in the upper echelon of men's bantamweight.
Yep.
That being said, yes, I think that the footwork is a big thing for Cruz, and I want to say that I don't think Cruz is going to be there to get leg kicked, but it's probably going to happen at least a few times throughout the fight. And I just feel like Cruz is not going to have power that he's not going to earn Munoz's respect. Munoz is going to come right at him. He's going to wade forward, and I think the power is going to make the difference. I think I could see him hurting, stunning, and or dropping Dominic Cruz at some point throughout the fight. But because of Cruz's footwork, I think he's going to stay away enough to get to the end of the fight. And I think I'm going to see a Pedro Munoz unanimous decision victory. That is the take. Moving on to the feature bout of the prelims. This I might be the most excited for this fight on this entire card. Josh Emmett takes on Dan 50K Ige in the featherweight division. My God, gentlemen, my God. This fight has got to be absolute fireworks. We have Josh Emmett coming off, bringing a 3-fight win streak into this bout, most recently defeating Shane Burgos back in June of 2020. And of course, Dan Ige, this guy is somebody who you always want to watch on any card that he's on. He is coming off a loss against Chen Sung Jung back in June of this year. Omar, let me start with you. What is your impressions of this big time featherweight clash?
This is a very, very violent fight.
Yeah.
Both of these guys are very aggressive fighters. Both of them come forward. Josh Emmett might just walk around with hammers in his gloves. So there's that. How do I see this fight going? It's a very difficult fight to choose. I think, especially based on momentum and the tools that they have to use, the danger that both of them present. On paper, I'm going to go with Josh Emmett, and I'll do it by decision.
Okay, Mark, what is your take in this fireworks featherweight bout of Emmett versus Ige?
So the odds on this one, Ige's the dog at plus 145. Emmett is minus 175. I find myself trusting Josh Emmett more in this fight. And I actually thought I was backing a dog. I kind of thought Ige was going to be the favorite here, but apparently I'm not. But I myself and maybe others, if Ige's the underdog here, think that Ige's standing in this division may be a bit inflated because of that decision that he was given over Edson Barbosa. He's lost to Chan Sung Jung. He lost to Calvin Kattar. He lost to Julio Arce. Outside of the Edson fight, he doesn't really have a signature win to hang his hat on over someone. Gavin Tucker might be his next best win, who's good, but he's not, this level. And I didn't think he won that Barbosa fight. So, you got to rank him where he's at because he got that win, but I'm just not quite sure he's this good. I do think he could be winning more of the fight time-wise just because he's kind of the busier, more game plan-y type fighter, whereas Emmett is a little more about the big shot. But I think those big shots, the bigger moments are what wins Emmett the fight. Even if he doesn't end up finding that kill shot, I still think he cracks Ige hard a few times, maybe drops him a couple times, and ends up earning the decision due to the big moments.
Hey. Okay, baby. Let us march on.
Who you got?
Oh, right. I'm going to take Josh Emmett by knockout.
There you go.
I feel like Dan Ige is going to be tough to put away, but Emmett has such big power at featherweight. Oh, yeah. Man.
Yeah.
I do love Dan Ige, though. I mean, I love him. Okay. Let us now step right on into this main card of UFC 269, Oliveira versus Poirier. And what a way to kick off the main card than with one of the promotion's brightest stars in Sean O'Malley, who is coming in the blue corner of this fight against Raulian Paiva. So Sean O'Malley, out of all the bantamweights on this card, might be the lowest ranked bantamweight in the UFC rankings. I'm not sure about that actually, but he is the one that is on the main card, oddly enough, because his star is so bright. Mark, let me start with you. What is your take on Paiva, who is coming off of that big-time comeback victory over Kyler Phillips, who is also a bright spot in men's bantamweight, and Sean O'Malley, who, of course, is coming off of a very impressive win over Chris Moutinho?
Yeah, so these are my number 15 and 19 bantamweights, respectively. Paiva being the 15, O'Malley the 19. This is O'Malley's first opponent where if he gets an impressive win, he's going to be ranked. It would be hard to not rank him at this point. He's the big favorite, minus 330. Paiva is plus 250. I look at this fight and look at their past fights and immediately feel like if the same Raulian Paiva shows up that drew with Kyler Phillips, see what I did there? He will not last long against Sean O'Malley. I know we just saw Chris Moutinho last, but I'm convinced that he's a mutant, and I will bet that Paiva is not. I think O'Malley has all the advantages here. It could be wild in moments. Paiva could certainly land some. He could look to take O'Malley down even, which could be interesting, but I trust O'Malley enough there too. Mm-hmm. I just think for the most part, Sean O'Malley styles on Paiva, like we're used to seeing from him. I will say second round KO, Sean O'Malley.
Omar, what's your take? Sean O'Malley, Sugar Sean over Paiva.
I'd have to agree. I mean, Sugar just has a lot more tools to work with. His momentum is up there. I don't think he lost any momentum even in the Vera fight. And like Mark said, the Kyler Phillips fight was very telling. Paiva did not win that fight. I don't know what the judges. We don't need to get into that. The judges were on some other shit that night. Point is, I think that O'Malley is going to walk away there with another one for the highlight reel. KO round 2.
Yeah, Paiva doesn't have a great head movement, and I thought that Kyler Phillips should have finished him. I thought, if I recall correctly, I think he was very close to getting finished by Phillips in that fight. And I remember being a little upset that the ref didn't step in and stop that fight.
Dude, it was a 10-8 round, right? Wasn't it a 10-8 round?
Yes.
And then Phillips' gas tank kind of failed him.
Right. And then Paiva came back in the second.
So many, yeah,
which is
Paiva
not an issue that O'Malley has. Gas tank. Yeah.
If anything,
that's true.
The Moutinho fight showed that O'Malley knows how to pace himself when beating the shit out of somebody, which is very rare.
That's true.
Very rare.
Yes. Very good point. Very good point. I gotta like O'Malley by knockout in this fight. I'll go O'Malley first round knockout.
Ooh.
Okay, next bout, flyweight division. What a great fight this is. Yeah. Cachoeira France taking on welcoming Cody Garbrandt to the flyweight division. Cody Garbrandt needing really no introduction. Of course, the former UFC bantamweight champion suffered a string of losses against TJ and against Pedro Munoz. Got a great highlight knockout over Rafael Assunção, and then dropped another one to Rob Font at bantamweight and said, you know what? I'm going to pull a Jose Aldo. I think I can cut 10 more pounds. I'm going to go down to flyweight. So here he is taking on Cachoeira France. Is there ready and waiting to welcome him to the division. Omar, let me start with you. What is your impression of this really fun matchup at featherweight, Cachoeira France versus No Love Garbrandt?
I do want to preface this by saying I don't like picking these types of fights with guys moving down to new weight classes until I see them make weight.
I'm about to make this same point.
I need to see what they look like making that weight. I need to see all of it to really understand what's about to go down. Because right now, all I'm picking on is basically like resume and how I know that they both fight on their own, right? But what's going to go down that night is going to be a direct reflection of what this kid is doing to get down to 125 and if he can make it down there the right way. So I'm going to preface that. Just
give us a if he does and if he doesn't, because that's what I'm going to be doing.
Well, I can tell you this: if Cody Garbrandt goes down to 125 properly and can take his power and his speed down to 125, he's gonna knock Cachoeira France the fuck out, like badly. I'm not even super sold on Cody Garbrandt like that. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, me neither.
A Cody Garbrandt lover or anything like that, but kid's got hands, very, very strong. And if he goes down to 125 and he can keep those attributes, Cachoeira might be face down for that fight.
Yeah, man.
If that weight cut is messed up, and let's say either one doesn't make weight or it looks terrible making weight, he's got one round to do something. Rounds 2 and 3 are going to be, if Cachoeira can make it out of there, 2 and 3 are going to be the ones that France can put him on and probably end up winning that fight by decision.
Okay, Mark, what is your similar point about Garbrandt and weight cutting?
Yeah, so quick, my Car France is my number 7 flyweight in the world, or in the UFC, I should say. Cody moving down, so I don't have him ranked in there, but he would fit in right around there, if not above Car France, resume wise. Cody is the favorite, minus 150. Car France is plus 125. And yeah, same point. My pick in this fight is going to hinge on the weigh-ins, because on paper, I want to pick Cody, but I do not like how Cody looked in that picture that he shared on social media recently. He looked like a guy who should not be forcing his body to make 125. On top of that, I already don't love Cody's chin, which will be further impacted if it's a rough weight cut. And unfortunately for him, he's fighting one of the 125ers that happens to have real KO power in Car France. He's no joke. He'll knock you the fuck out. And he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage as well, which is crazy that Cody still is at a reach disadvantage, even dropping down a weight class. So yeah, if Cody doesn't look great at weigh-ins, if he looks like it's a cut that he shouldn't try to make, I will be picking him to get blitzed and put out in round 1. Wow. If he looks fine and he looks like his body is okay at this weight, then I am very tentatively going to pick Cody Garbrandt. I think he's plenty fast enough. And really the factor for me is that I think the power he has is a game-changing type of power in the flyweight division compared to who is there at the moment. He'd have to walk that usual Cody Garbrandt tightrope of is he going to let himself get punched clean in the face at any moment? But if he mixes in the wrestling, which I hope he will, and which he's been more prone to do of late, I think that combined with the power and the big shots that he could land will be enough to take the scorecards.
Okay. Wow. I didn't know that his reach was that short, because going into this fight, he has such a huge height advantage over Car France.
Yeah, he's got no reach.
Yeah, Car France is only like 5'4", and Cody's like 5'7" or 5'8".
Wow.
Cody's definitely looking cut, but he looks good. Like, he looks like he's got energy. He doesn't look, like, it doesn't look like it's going the wrong way, at least not for right now. I don't know what he weighs.
The only thing I've seen is that one picture that was like the very zoomed in picture, and he looked like he was going to die.
Oh, really?
You might need to show me, because the one I'm looking at is from 6 days ago, and he looks fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, then I'm likely going to pick Cody, but we'll see. I reserve the right to switch it if he looks shitty at weigh-ins. Mike, who you going with?
I don't want to see Cody lose this fight, and just like after such a great hot start to his career, starting his career as a pro 11-0, about half that in the UFC, winning UFC gold. And then if he loses this fight, he'll have lost 5 of his last 6. That's weird, man. So wow. I'll be rooting for him, but Car France is no joke, like you said. He's 22-9. He's coming off of a great knockout win. He can get finishes. Almost half of his wins in his career are by finish. Yeah, I mean, like, I'll echo what you guys both said, that it all depends on this weight cut for this guy. He's going down to the lightest possible weight class in the promotion. The photos I've seen of him, I don't think he's looked great. He looks really kind of gaunt and skinny. But we'll see if that power translates down a weight class, or if he is really diminished. He still has fast hands. Car France, all these guys at these lighter weight classes, they're all lightning fast.
Yeah.
Tough fight to pick. I'm going to go. I'll go Kara France by decision. I'll make it boring.
I will say this. I just sent you guys the picture that I saw that I was just looking at on Instagram, which is the one taken from 6 days ago.
So that looks a lot better than the one I saw. But
Yeah.
even still, he looks like he has almost like removed muscle, which I don't love to see.
Sure,
Right.
I give you that. I will say he looks better
And there's a
than
lot of
TJ
veins.
did at 125.
Yeah,
Yeah,
TJ shouldn't have been there either.
I agree. I agree. But isn't TJ like height wise? Who's taller?
Probably Cody by a half inch or
I
something.
was gonna say I think they're really similar. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean he looks. It definitely look. I mean, you could tell he's definitely losing weight, but he doesn't look bad, to be honest.
Cody's taller by a couple inches, 5'8"
Okay.
and 5'6".
Then who?
TJ.
TJ. Although TJ knocked him out twice.
Yeah.
But if this picture is 6 days ago, that means that.
Yeah, like
It'll
what is he?
probably-
He's got more to go then from that picture. Like what was he gonna remove a rib?
Right,
That's what I
that's-
don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. Again, if he even makes the weight, we're all assuming he will make weight. Guy might even make weight.
For those watching on video, that's the picture. And that's not even close to as bad as the one that I saw earlier in the week. So be your own judge.
Yeah, I guess you probably really shouldn't see people's ribs like that, right? That's not normal.
Yeah, it's a lot of rib. A lot of rib.
Well, it is a lot of rib.
There's
All
no
right,
body fat.
let's keep it moving.
Let's keep it moving, guys. In the welterweight division, a fight of consequence is going down, and Jeff Neal takes on Santiago Ponzinibbio. I love saying his name. It's like a song. Guys, what a great fight. You know, Jeff Neal, he's no joke at all, but he is coming off of back-to-back decision losses against Wonderboy Thompson and Neil Magny. And Ponzinibbio, the Argentinian, of course, is coming off of a win against Miguel Baeza. Mark, let me start with you. What is your take on this great, exciting welterweight bout?
Yep, another great matchup. Jeff Neal's my number 10 welterweight in the world in the UFC. I'm gonna do that every freaking time, I guess. Santiago Ponzinibbio is my number 15. This is another pick'em fight odds wise. It's the third one on the card, which shows you how damn good this card is. For whatever reason, I myself have never been able to fully buy into Jeff Neal. Like the skills are there, but sometimes there's just kind of this unwillingness to bring the fight or do what has to be done that kind of like leaves me wanting a little bit more. I do think this fight will be close, but I think I just trust Pons more to be the guy who pushes it, who makes sure he does what needs to be done to win rounds. I think he handles space better than Jeff Neal, so I think that might allow him to be landing the more memorable blows. And I'm going to say Pons takes a decision win. I don't feel super confident about it. I don't know. I'm not a Jeff Neal guy.
Okay, Omar. Jeff Hands of Steel Neal against Santiago Ponzinibbio, the Argentine Dagger. I love both of their nicknames. What's your take, buddy?
I would have to agree. I will note, because I did not put this in the MMA sphere. I don't have a good reason for it, but I will note that Jeff Neal was recently arrested for DWI and weapons possessions. Right. It will not affect this fight coming up. According to UFC officials, they were talking about that this is a misunderstanding. The gun is actually legally registered to him, but because of the potential DUI, him having the gun, whether it was legally registered to him or not, becomes an illegal firearm charge because it's in the commission of a crime.
I see.
So if the DUI gets dropped, the gun charge gets dropped, and sources seem to be pointing towards it going in that direction. But the main thing is it will not affect the fight. Just keep in mind that this is something that he is dealing with. So it could affect the fight coming up.
Okay.
With that being said, I wasn't going to pick Jeff Neal anyway. I just figured you guys should know. Santiago Ponzinibbio, for me, is a fantastic fighter. I didn't really take a lot away from the Jingliang Li loss. He got caught. That shit happens. I think he's got a decent resume up until that point. Even his last win against Miguel Baeza, you guys know how I feel about Miguel Baeza. He's got a couple losses, but the kid is good. He's a very, very good fighter. So with all that being said, I think Ponzinibbio takes Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal, if nothing else, though, is a tough motherfucker. So I will give Ponzinibbio the win, but by decision.
Going Pons by decision. Man, yeah, tough fight to pick. The older man, Santiago Ponzinibbio, he has just as many losses, but like 15 more victories in his career than Jeff Neal. I'm gonna go. Man, he's so good though. Jeff Neal he definitely has big power. But I'm gonna go Santiago. I'll go Santiago by decision. I'm so boring tonight, man.
Unanimous, all three of us on that one. I think that's the first unanimous. Oh no, O'Malley too. Yeah.
Okay, marching on into the co-main event, and boys, we have a treat, which is to watch the GOAT of women's MMA take on another opponent and defend her strap. Amanda Nunes is defending her women's bantamweight title against Juliana Pena. Boy, oh boy, what a matchup. What do we make of this? Omar, let me start with you. I'm going to ask you this way. How much of a chance do you give Juliana Pena going up against the lioness, Amanda Nunes?
Give her a solid 10%. Right? It's a solid 10%. She could catch her.
Really?
And something is possible. Crazier things have happened. I don't think that will happen. I think this will be one of those, if they fought 10 times, she might catch her once.
Yeah.
What I don't see happening to any sense of anything is Pena outclassing Nunes anywhere. Ground, striking, clinch work, none of it. The only path to victory Pena has is Hail Marys from the beginning of round 1 all the way through round 5. This is 5 rounds, right? This is a title fight for round 5 rounds.
Yes.
Okay. That's really the only path to victory Pena has. There's not really much else that I can see her being able to do to Amanda to win this fight, other than just trying her very best to hit her with something that's just going to put her out, finding an opportunity to grab a limb or something like that. But this fight is going to be dictated by Amanda Nunes, and she's going to do whatever she wants to Juliana Pena.
Did you give a method in round?
I think she's going to want to make a statement with Juliana, especially because Juliana's talked. I mean,
She has.
Shit for years now.
She's brought this upon herself.
So I think that even if Juliana Pena would lose in one round, I think Nunes drags it. And honestly, I think submission round 5.
I mean, like drops her, gets on top of her, a little ground and pound. She turtles, she turns over, and she gets a neck.
I think she fucks her up for 5 rounds, purposefully just dragging it out until she feels like she wants to choke her out, just to show her you never had a chance.
That seems
never.
That seems very cruel.
I mean,
Okay,
it's what
Mark.
I would do if somebody was talking wild shit to me for 3 years.
It's true.
So
Mark, same question, same prompt to you. What kind of a chance are you giving Juliana Pena?
So Nunez a huge favorite, minus 850. Pena plus 550. Juliana Pena's shit talk and belief in herself has really, really convinced me that I should at least care about this fight where she's going to get smoked. But certainly not enough to pick her. But for real, props to Juliana Pena. She has not bit her tongue one time. She's pulled no punches. She has sold the fuck out of this fight. She has made me care about a fight that I otherwise wouldn't have cared about. It truly does feel like she's gotten into Amanda Nunez's head, which not sure who else can say that. Like, Nunez seems legitimately bothered and annoyed. So, hey, maybe one little check in the column of Pena. You try anything you can when you fight Amanda freaking Nunez, right? So props to her for that. On paper, Pena should get decimated. She really should. And that's what I'm going to pick. At the same time, I will admit, I have a little bit of that vibe of like, this is going to be one of those weird fights in MMA where it's like somehow oddly competitive and they're like coming out for round 4 and we're all like, I don't understand how this is close. Like, why is this close? I sort of have that weird vibe, but I'm going to ignore it because like there's no reason to have that vibe. Amanda's too good. She has given us no reason to doubt her. I will say that she does it impressively. Round 2 TKO.
I like that pick a lot. Both Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena have 4 career losses. Amanda Nunes's career losses all came somewhat early in her career, and she has, since her 4th loss against Kat Zingano back in 2014, she has won 12 fights in a row, and in that stretch of time has unlocked so many just new talents and abilities and levels of confidence and aura, and she just has realized her talent in such a tremendous way. Juliana Pena, on the other hand, her 4 losses have all been somewhat more, a little more peppered throughout her record, and most recently she is 2-2 in her last 4 fights. She is coming off of a win, but she's 2-2 in her last 4 fights. These 2 women, they are almost the exact same height. They're almost the same age. They had the exact same reach, but the level of skill and talent in their muscles and brains is vastly different. That being said, I'm going to take Amanda Nunes by TKO. Mark, you took my pick, but I'll go with you in the second round. Okay. We've arrived at the fight that we all have been waiting for. Yes. The main event of UFC 269. Charles Do Bronx Oliveira versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier, baby, for the UFC light heavyweight championship, which is of course being defended by Do Bronx. My God, what a fight. What a fight. I almost like want to take a moment of silence for this fight. This is just one of those fights, especially for an MMA purist like the 3 of us. This is just one of those fights where you're just like,
Yep. Can't get better.
Omar, let me start with you, man. What is your take on this incredible fight that we're about to witness on Saturday night?
This is going to be a legendary fight. This is Mark's spirit animal, for those who are unaware. Charles Do Bronx Oliveira is all the rage for Mark. And to be honest, obviously this is a fight for me that sucks, because any given day I'm always going to be going for Oliveira. Any given day I'm always going to be going for Poirier.
Yeah.
And yet here we are at the most crucial and important fight of both of their careers at this point. And now I have to figure out who's going to walk away the victor. And I'll be honest, on paper, like, there's a lot of things that say both of them can really win, right? Oliveira's ground game is beyond elite. There's not really a guy in the UFC, period. Not a person. I'm gonna say person, because it includes women in the UFC who have a ground game like Oliveira. It's just not there. Even Brian Ortega is not at that level, I think, at this point. Dustin has shown vulnerabilities to being caught on the ground game by the high elite of the division. But Dustin's striking is on some extra shit. Dustin's striking is leaps and bounds ahead of what Oliveira has to offer. And that is not to say Oliveira can't strike, which is probably the problem. It's like Dustin's got this significant advantage in the striking. Oliveira's got significant advantage in the ground game. Oliveira doesn't have a great way to get things to the ground, which is, I think, going to be the crux of that fight. And mainly because I really want this to happen, I'm going to go with Dustin Poirier by knockout 3rd round.
Oh, man. Oh, man. God, I would be so happy for Poirier if he finally realized UFC gold, man. I've been such a fan of this guy's for so long. Have always enjoyed watching Oliveira, but I've been a Poirier guy since featherweight, man. Okay, Mark, what do you got to say about this incredible title fight we're about to watch on Saturday night?
So, I love both of these guys. I'm probably going to talk for a while here.
Go for
Deal
it.
with it.
The floor is yours.
Charles Oliveira plus 135, underdog, champion underdog. How often do you see that? Dustin Poirier minus 165. Now, I understand a little bit of odd scenario where Oliveira became the champ because Poirier chose to fight Conor. Most people think Poirier is the best lightweight in the world. I'm sure that's why he's favored here, but still interesting to see the champ as the underdog. Yeah, we're here. I love this fight so much. It's one of my favorite fights in a long time. Probably because, as you guys know, as Omar mentioned, one of them, these are my two favorite fighters, along with Conor. That's my three guys. I have been a Charles Oliveira guy and a Dustin Poirier guy since they were far from any rankings, back in Poirier's featherweight days, back in Oliveira's lightweight days, before he went to featherweight, before he went back to lightweight. Like, these are my guys, especially Oliveira, because I always said he was going to be a champ, even though it kind of seemed like that didn't make any sense. And here we are. So it feels awesome that he's at this point. It's going to kill me to see one of these guys get his dreams crushed here. But what a moment it's going to be for the winner. Either we have Dustin Poirier finally reaching the mountaintop after all this time, or we have Charles Oliveira erasing all doubt that he is currently the best lightweight in the world, which not a lot of people thought even very recently. So it's going to be crazy either way. I don't know. I don't know how to pick this fight. Real quick, I saw these stats today and have to share them. This matchup has broken 4 separate records for a title fight. Most combined fights in a title fight with 54, 28 for Oliveira, 26 Poirier. Most combined wins in a title fight with 39, 19 Oliveira, 20 Poirier. Most combined finishes in a title fight with 30, 17 Oliveira, 13 Poirier. And most combined bonuses in a title fight with 29, 17 Oliveira, 12 Poirier.
Ooh,
I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about how ridiculous this fight is. Dustin has not lost to any man other than Khabib since 2016. He has taken out killer after killer after killer, and he looks and feels like a man who's fulfilling his destiny at this point. Charles has won 9 in a row. He hasn't lost at all since 2017. All the talent has finally come together for him. And it's time to put this narrative to bed real quick that Charles Oliveira is soft or breaks or wilts under pressure. Like, that idea is dead. It's over. I don't want to hear that anymore. This man has proven his merit at this point. Back to me not knowing how to pick this fight. This feels like a fight that could have 10 outcomes to me. Like, if we put them in a cage 10 times, I think it'd be 5-5. And I think the method of victory could be different every single time. Like, they're both that well-rounded. They're both that dangerous everywhere it goes. So, sometimes you get fights like I just had with Aldo and Font, where I really felt like I could say, like, this guy has the advantage in this matchup because of this, and here's why. In this fight, I think we're just picking which one of 10 random outcomes is going to happen to be the one that shakes out on Saturday night. Like, it's that close. It's that crazy. So, with that said, I'll give you a couple things that make me lean each fighter. The things that make me want to pick Charles. First, Charles's short left hook has become such a weapon for him. And when Dustin gets caught in his career, it tends to be by the left hook. Gaethje hurt him with it. Granted, he still won the fight. Max hurt him with it in round 1. Granted, he still won the fight. Michael Johnson knocked him out with the left hook. Conor McGregor knocked him out with the left hook. If anything catches Dustin on the feet, that tends to be it. And Charles's check left hook is nasty at this point. Ask Michael Chandler. Also, sometimes Dustin strikes me as a guy who feels a little too confident in certain situations. Like, and it's honestly probably because he's so damn good everywhere that he just feels like he's safe. But he'll get like a little lazy blocking a strike or a little lazy keeping his neck safe because he assumes he has it under control. And against a guy like Charles, one slip could be death. The things I see that make me want to pick Dustin. He is an absolute dog who will not quit. And I could see Oliveira getting overwhelmed on the feet by the constant pressure and getting thrown off his own game plan where his rhythm gets thrown off and he makes a mistake and Poirier catches him. Also, if this thing reaches rounds 4 and 5, I trust Dustin's cardio and gas tank a lot more than I trust Charles. in the end, think I'm going to surprise myself. When this fight was made, I thought I would pick Dustin Poirier, and I'm not. The Dustin who beat Gaethje and Alvarez and Holloway and Hooker and Connor is a guy who got to fight all these guys where he didn't have to worry about getting taken down, or at least knew that if he did, he'd be able to get up from under those guys. The Dustin who fought Khabib was clearly somewhat off his game striking-wise because of how much he was trying to avoid having that fight hit the mat. Now, I know it's not the same. I still think that fear is there, though, with Oliveira, where as good as Dustin's own jiu-jitsu is, he knows he doesn't really want to fuck around on the mat if he doesn't have to. And I think that slight limitation where he has to worry about that could be the difference, whereas Charles gets to be completely free in his striking all the time because he knows no one's ever dreaming of taking him down. So I will say that is what makes the difference. I will say that allows Charles to close the distance because Poirier is not quite as on point with his striking as he is because he's thinking about everything a little bit more. And I will say Charles Oliveira ends it with a rear naked choke in round 2. I told you I was going to talk for a while.
No, it was great. It was great. Yeah. I'm just going to get right to the point because we are coming up on 2 hours.
Oh, shit. Are we really?
I also think, hey, props to us. We had a great pace going through this freaking card. I think that stylistically and overall, I think that Oliveira right now has come into his own, and I think he is the best lightweight on the planet right now. And I do see him getting the win over Dustin. I really can't say much better than Mark. You broke it down stylistically in the same way that I pretty much would have, just sounding smarter. I see. I don't know if Dustin is going to be that worried about getting taken down. I don't know. Maybe he is, but certainly, don't sleep on Oliveira's power either. He has some snap as well, and I think he might surprise Dustin and stun him a little bit, and then in a scramble, kind of wind up on top and take his neck.
Could absolutely see the same exact thing.
And it's going to break my heart, but also because I have always enjoyed watching Oliveira, but I have been a Poirier diehard since day one of his freaking career. So my heart is definitely with Poirier. So I'm going to force my brain to go with Oliveira so that either way I can sort of be happy.
Yeah, I thought I'd be alone on Oliveira for sure. I didn't even know that I was going to pick Oliveira myself really until today.
I think stylistically, Oliveira is going to take it. And also, I think he just is the best lightweight right now. The only guy right now, this might be a separate tangent that we don't need to begin because we're at 2 hours. The only guy, if Khabib is retired, the only guy who I think could make it really interesting with Oliveira is Justin Gaethje.
Not Islam?
That's where I thought you were going with that. Islam.
That's where I thought he was going too.
Maybe Islam. I'm thinking like in the top 5, although now Islam is in the top 5.
I really don't even want to say this when Oliveira hasn't even beat Poirier yet. But I'll throw this out there because I was thinking about it today. Part of me wonders if there's a path where Charles Oliveira beats Dustin Poirier, beats Justin Gaethje, and beats Islam Makhachev. And people talk about it so much that Khabib comes back for that fight. I don't love saying it right now because there's so much work to do to even imagine getting to that point.
Khabib looks like he's eaten an entire truck of tiramisu. He ain't coming back nothing.
But Islam's his boy.
He ain't coming back nothing.
But I don't like that being out there. Let's go. I mean, I'm rooting for them equally, so I guess it doesn't matter if I'm jinxing one of them.
That's true. Man, I cannot wait for this main event. I can't wait for this whole card. This Saturday night UFC 269. It will be the night after my fights this weekend. This Friday night, I will be in-cage ring announcer for XFC Young Guns 4. Check it out. The main card will start on FS2 here in the States at 10 p.m. on Friday night. Check it out. XFC on social media at XFC Official, I think. XFCTV.com. Check it out and catch me doing my thing, announcing some fighters at 10 o'clock Friday night, FS2.
I put way too much bourbon in this freaking drink. I think my eyes are nearly closed at this point.
I put way too much bourbon in this bourbon. Gentlemen, we did it. We made it through this colossal episode. If you're still with us, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening and for watching. One last time, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell icon, leave us a like, leave us a comment. Nothing will help us out more than those things. If you want audio only, we got you. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, Stitcher, Apple, Spotify, all the places. And of course, hit us up on social media at @new_MMA show. Omar, Mark, any parting shots?
I love that freaking episode. Had a great time. Are you hitting us with trivia before we go?
I was just pulling it up. Let's see. Trivia.
I got a new 3D printer. I've been printing out Pokemon.
That thing is legit, dude.
I never have to buy another fucking action figure for the rest of my life. I'm just going to build them now from now on.
Okay.
I should see if I can make an MMA fighter with my 3D printer.
Okay.
Mike, be more prepared. Sheesh.
Sorry. Forgot about the trivia.
Yeah, we forgot last week. We can't forget again. Go, the people need the trivia.
That's right.
Dude, you know if Oliveira had takedowns like GSP, he would be unbeatable?
Correct.
Unbeatable.
Correct.
That's his biggest thing. I need him to do takedowns properly. That's his biggest issue.
Okay. Here's the trivia question. What was the weight class of the very first season of The Ultimate Fighter?
Light, heavyweight, and middleweight.
Correct.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Very good. I thought that one would have at least given you guys a thought.
Before I could, but yeah.
Tough one, baby. There's a special place in my heart for tough one. Sorry.
Yeah.
You could have literally asked that about any other season of Tough, and I probably would not have gotten it.
I paused for a second because I was like, wait, were both of those like classes that I'm thinking of on Tough 1, or was one of those Tough 2? And then I was like, nah, they're both Tough 1.
Nice. All right, guys. Any parting shots?
I hope I'll be able to watch this fight. I might have to watch it when I get back. I'm going to Cancun.
God, dude, I forgot. Jesus Christ.
Cancun. You can't watch it from Cancun.
I don't know how this whole setup is going on over there. We'll see, but it's potential that I might not watch it.
I was just in Cancun and for the Holloway card, and ESPN Plus doesn't work there, but you can watch it on UFC Fight Pass if you subscribe to that.
Oh.
So keep that in mind. But with a pay-per-view, it's probably even more confusing. So good luck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sweet. I might just wait till I get back. I don't know.
We'll be sure to text you about how much great shit you're missing.
Don't fucking spoil it for me. All right, guys. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Dude, this is a crazy card. Do not miss this card for anything. If your friend has a wedding, tell him that was, congratulations. I have to watch a fight.
If you listen to us on YouTube, we see the listens. Throw us a comment. We want to know who you guys are. Let's interact.
Definitely. All right, folks. See you next week.
Later.
Peace.